To the Guinness November series, it's Ireland against Fiji. Come on, Ireland! You're very welcome along to the Aviva Fan Studio here live on the Off the Ball channels, and I decided the best thing to do this weekend was to position myself next to Stephen Ferris, because that's definitely going to make me look well. Stephen Ferris, you're welcome to the Aviva Fan Studio.
Cheers.
Fiona, Steed, you're welcome to the Aviva Fan Studio. And Stuart, Lancaster, everybody. So get in touch with us over the next little while. We're going to be here pre-match. We're going to be back in at half-time and back again at full-time as well. We've got lots of stuff to get through with the guys here, but do keep your comments coming in. We're going to hear from Keith Barry as well, get a prediction from him, and a few other little bits as well that I'm a little bit intrigued about, I have to say. So that's to come before kick-off here, which is at 5:30. But first of all, I just want to get a sense from each of you about this game. We've got our talking points up here as always, and Stuart rightfully pointed out just before we came on air there, what the hell is this difficult second album all about? So the idea is that it's the second test, obviously, of the series, and there's a lot of changes here for Joe Schmidt. I saw somebody saying this week, Stephen, that maybe it's a bit of a risk by Joe Schmidt selecting the team that he selected. Do you think it is?
There's always a risk when you're selecting a team, but I think there's a lot of experience in that backline, even though they are very young. Joe Carberry plays a lot of rugby for Leinster, maybe, albeit at 15, but he showed last week he can come on and control a game against South Africa, who's one of the better nations. And yes, there's always a risk, but there's a lot of talent out there, and I think we'll hopefully see it today against, I think it's a bit of a stronger Fijian team, and Joe Schmidt alluded to it in his post-match interview last week about them being, this Fijian team being very athletic, very physical, very powerful, and can score tries from anywhere. So they'll have to be on their game today to make sure the score and the result is on their side.
Like a vastly different proposition, this Fijian team, Fiona, from South Africa last weekend.
Yeah, absolutely. But I think Joe doesn't do risk, does he? No. He'd be risk averse, I'd say, in a lot of ways. And hugely, hugely different. Like, Fiji have nothing to lose in all of this, that they're going to be, it's hugely athletic. Their offloading game, which we'll cover later, will be key. And it'll take Ireland a good 60 minutes plus, I think, to put them away, But it's just such an opportunity for the lads that are coming in, and like, they don't care. You don't care who you get your first cap for. You don't care who you get your first start against, like, Porter in the front. They're not going to care, who it's against. They're just going to want to do their bit and to perform. Yeah, it's a low cap selection, obviously, Stuart, across the board, and I mean, even in a World Cup context, kind of reaching that far ahead, it's a huge opportunity, and maybe perhaps one of the final opportunities for a lot of these players out there today.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think it'll be the final opportunity this far out, but it clearly Joe's got that in his mind. You can see that in the selections that he's made. Andrew Porter is a good example at tight head. It's a massive opportunity for him. But you've still got that core experience on the bench as well to come on. You look at the quality of the bench, and I think they could be the defining factor actually as the game wears on.
Is it a vastly different proposition for Joe and Andy and the coaches this week in terms of the turnaround from last week, and again in terms of the difference in styles between Fiji and South Africa? Yeah,
it is. I mean, we played when I was coaching England in the first pool game of the World Cup, and they're a handful. They really are difficult to prepare for. But one thing that Andy will have done in particular is he's been really pleased with the defensive setup last week, and I think one of the key points this week is Ireland's defensive pressure that they'll put on the Fijians. And I think also, on a nice dry day like it is, a nice dry evening, that would be, to Ireland's benefit, definitely.
One of the opportunities we put up on the board, collectively, obviously, I put it up there myself, Joey Carberry, and we've spoken a little bit about him, but, he's not played a huge amount of rugby at 10 this season, particularly he's in the front line today. You talked to us a little bit about the difference between 10 and 15 and maybe the future opportunity, and so much as you can, given your position, the future opportunity for Joey Carberry and where you see him in the long term. Yeah, I mean, I think obviously in the short term, Johnny being at Leinster, he's playing well and he's in form, he's always going to be there or thereabouts to get started, fairly obviously. I see Joey personally as a Bowden Barrett equivalent, who's someone who can play 15 and can play 10, but ultimately will gravitate towards the 10 position as he matures. His skills, his ability to unlock defences, his broken field running, are all international quality without doubt. Where he needs to show his development today is that he can manage a game, he can play in the right areas of the field, he can put pressure on Fiji, he can turn them. And I think that's why it's such a good test for him today. But he's such an exciting player, and I speak to him a lot about the 10-15 thing, and he's open-minded as we are at Leinster. But if Johnny is playing at 10, we've got big European games coming around. You've got Rob Kearney and Joey at 15. So what do you do then? Well, you tell me.
What do you do?
We'll wait and see.
That's a good policy. Stephen, we do tend to sort of box, and maybe less so from a coach's point of view, but you know, from the public and the media point of view, we do tend to try and box players into one position. So Carberry's got to play at 15 or he's got to play at 10 and that's the only place he can be. But actually, given his age profile over the next couple of years, giving him a bit of a look at what both of those positions look like at Leinster level and at Ireland level might not be the worst thing.
No, definitely not. He's versatile. He's shown that. Andrew Conway as well. He can play in the wing. He can play full back. You know, the centre partnership today. You know, Chris Farrell's 24, Stuart McCluskey 25. You know, Dave Carney's on the wing. He's the oldest guy in the back line at 28. It's so young, but the guys just want to go out and play rugby, and it's a breath of fresh air. And Joey Carberry, 22 years of age at out half, he's going to be linking up with Devin Toner at the line and saying, right, what play are we running here? You know, there's a lot of responsibility on his shoulders, and Joe wouldn't have picked him at 10 if he didn't think he could cope with that pressure. And I think, you know, he'll go well. Hopefully the pack give him the platform to play off today, and they put in a good effort.
Trying to swing the conversation around to talk about the forwards. Is that what none of this bag stuff? That's not my area especially. Darren Sweetenham is another name we have on the board, Fiona. And like there's a lot of, we saw Andrew Conway here last week. He took his opportunity to try really well, so we haven't forgotten about him. But a lot of excitement about Darren Sweetenham in Munster.
Absolutely, and I think his first job will be defensively as well, to get that right and to nail Nadolo, you know, and a lot of work will have gone into that this week because it's a slightly different challenge given the range of the guy, you know, that he's against. And then to look at him at ball in hand, you know, he has a really good step. He can really cut in field as well, which I think is great. I mean, another thing about Joey Carberry as well, I think one of the criticisms or observations of the last World Cup was that there wasn't a recognised backup as such at 10, and I think that, you know, when Joe, you know, after it happened, he said, oh well, you know, Madigan hadn't had a huge run out, but I think fair enough, start him here, but then you have to give him a chance at 10 against one of the bigger teams, against, you know, whether it's Six Nations or whether it's Argentina or whatever, before we come to World Cup again, so that he can perform against top class when the pressure is on. You know, it's obviously the individual pressure today, but the pressure of the country, the nation, you know,
sure,
and everything else.
Class,
so you can't just be giving him the bits here and there. That if he's his backup 10 as stated, then he has to get the chance. And I'd nearly put him in against, you know, Scotland or Wales as well, just to see can he do it in that situation. All
right, just about under 20 minutes now to kick off between Ireland and Fiji here. You're live on the Off the Ball channels at the Aviva Fan Studio. Come on, Ireland! We ran a competition during the week and Kieran Cannon was the winner. He won the opportunity to come join us here today and ask the panel a bit of a question. Kieran, I mean, it was the prize question from the literally thousands of entrants we had, so it better be good.
I hope so, yeah.
No pressure.
The Aviva is becoming a cauldron. Other teams find it difficult to play in. Why do you think that is? Wow. Paul.
Do you want me? Well, I can go first. I mean, you know, when I came here with England, I was very fortunate. In the first time we came here, in Brian O'Driscoll's wife had given birth that day, I think, and it was a rainy day, and it sort of suited us. And but the more times we came here, the more difficult it became. And I think the reason we become a cauldron is because the supporters and the team are connected, and the supporters believe in the team. That's the bottom line, I think. And I think they can see, you know, the passion, the enthusiasm, the accuracy of what they're doing. And I think as a consequence, you get that sort of snowball effect. And it was great to see last week, actually. I was watching the game, and just some of the celebrating the small moments I thought was really important. And it shows that sort of chemistry between the Irish players. And I often say to the Leinster players, you know, you've got to show the crowd that you care when you score a try or when, you know, something good happens, and they respond in kind. And I think that's what's beginning to happen. And it is a very difficult place to come because people genuinely believe. You know, you think about the end of the Six Nations last year when England came. You know, it was a cauldron, and that's what you want. You know, people talk about rugby being, you know, the crowd being the 16th man, and it's 100% true.
I'll just probably jump on the back of what you're saying. And you know, the first hit last week, Bundy Aki gets up, smashes him. The first scrum, they get the penalty, and it just pats on back, slaps on head, well done. And as soon as the first scrum went Ireland's way, I knew the game was in our hands. You know, I knew we were going to go on and win the game. So yeah, I totally agree with you, Stuart. It's massive that you kind of, those small moments that you do let the crowd know that, you know, you're up for this.
Yeah.
And obviously, just to clarify, we're talking about the rugby as opposed to the soccer. Yeah, there's a no mention of that. Okay, yeah,
Never happened.
so I think, but yeah, I think it's just like Stuart said, and I think the rugby crowd in Ireland that come to rugby matches are really knowledgeable, you know, and I know the RFU do a whole lot for, you know, allowing and gathering kids to come, you know, for these matches as well. There's lovely packages for the clubs that they can bring, you know, youngsters at a reduced rate, and just their excitement of being, they don't mind that it's Fiji. They're here at the Aviva to watch Ireland play, to watch their team play, you know, and that's huge, and you just can't buy that or bottle it either, and I think that's part of it as well.
Come on, Kieran, well done. It was a good question, it turns out. That was pretty decent. Stuart, we're going to put the pressure on you now, if you don't mind. We're going to bring you over here to the tactics board, and there is big pressure because we had Fergus McFadden in the studio last week, the highlight of which was a likeness, I'm going to call it a likeness of Johnny Sexton that he drew. It wasn't much in the tactics, but it was a stick man, yeah. So you're just going to talk us through a potential Ireland move.
Well, no, it's not necessarily an Ireland move. It's going back to the concept of defence and how I think Ireland will set up defensively in phase, and why I think it'll be hard for Fiji, irrespective of what they're doing, to break them down. So, for example, if we've got a ruck here and Fiji are going in this direction, what you'll find with Ireland's defence, Andy Farrell's defensive system in particular, they will have a really solid but wide front line. But wide. They'll have good defensive width, and they'll play probably just with 2 in the backfield who'll be around about the 15-metre line. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 11, 12, 13, 14,
There'll be a few in the ruck.
15.
There'll be a few in the
Oh yeah,
ruck.
yeah, 2. Sorry, yes, yeah. Sorry, yes. A couple of tackles in the ruck. So they'll aim for that defensive width, and with that, they can then bring line speed, because you can't get line speed without defensive width. So I think the big difference between the two teams will be Fiji. If this was a Fiji defensive line, I think there might be 2 or 3 or 4 contesting the ball, thinking they can turn it over, and I think it'll be very hard to do against Ireland. They could be tighter here. So then there'll be space that Joey will begin to see here. They might have this guy sat back. They might have one here, and Ireland will be consistent in terms of their defensive width. And then as a consequence, once you've got that width, as I say, then you can bring line speed and you can bring outside pressure.
Okay.
So even if Fiji play, you know, really deep play and get to here, they'll be able to scramble and they'll still be hitting them behind the gain line.
Good. All right.
So defensive width is key,
Yeah.
and I think that'll be the difference. The other thing is, I think Fiji potentially, as they come up in their defensive line, they might come up disconnected, what I'll call disconnected. So here, so we create little triangles. And good ball players like Joey, he's playing here. Someone is inside, someone is outside.
Gaps start to open up.
Gaps start to open up because they're disconnected line and the lack of defensive width.
Excellent. We'll keep an eye out for that in the first half, see how we go. We do, as I said, have some special guests in the studio with us today, so we're going to wander down into the crowd and we're going to have a word with Keith Barry, who's joined us, and he's going to, I mean, I don't know how confident you're feeling about this game.
Trying to get on the internet right now to make his own live stream. That's what he's trying to do. How are you anyway?
How's it going?
Very good, thanks. Yeah.
Thanks for
Looking
joining
forward
us.
to the game. No, thank you for having me.
What are you, an Ireland win, I'm assuming you're expecting?
Well, always an Ireland win, yes, but I don't make too many predictions anymore since people started betting on my predictions, and I got 1 or 2 wrong, and people are a bit angry at me. So yeah, an Ireland win for sure. But look, we're here to enjoy the match, and hopefully the lads play well. You know.
Should be a belter. You've set me a bit of a challenge as well. Are you going to?
Yes, well, I just thought it'd be interesting that we're here to have a little bit of a challenge between our minds right now, okay? So here's what I want you to do. I want you to think of any player from any moment in history, from any country, and it's important for all the people watching right now. Very often when they see it on camera like this, they see, oh, maybe you're a plant or a stooge, or maybe you've told me.
I may be a stooge, I think that's, but I'm not a plant.
well, if you're a stooge, then the whole thing would be pointless. So, but be honest. Have you got somebody in mind?
I have, yeah.
Okay, you haven't told me this name.
I haven't.
Okay, 100%. Like, have you got kids?
Yes.
On your kids' lives, have you told me this name?
I have not told you that.
No, good, because people at home when they see this, unless they see it live, which by the way, I'm on tour soon with my new show, The Magic. The Magic Madhouse goes on tour on December 28th.
Once the Wi-Fi goes up, I'll book some tickets.
Yeah. Look, I can't get it. But anyway, so here's what I want you to do: concentrate on that player, whoever here, it could be a girl. So whoever he or she is, focus on this player. Focus on their position. So we'll start there. Focus on the positions. The fireworks goes off. That makes it more difficult for me. Focus on where their front row, back row. Focus on where they are. You looked up the top. Yeah, good. I'm sensing this is probably, and you had to think about that, so you weren't too sure in your own mind. So they're but they're a forward. Are they a forward?
Yes, they are.
Yes, I'm sensing from you a lock forward.
Yes, they are.
Yeah, good. Okay, focus on that player. Now everybody's going to try and guess. Everybody here try and guess a lock forward, especially the people over here are experts, try and guess who the lock forward that you think he's thinking of is, okay? Could be any player from any moment in history, okay? Focus now on this player. Just follow me as I move you around. Focus on whether they're playing right now or not. Whether they're playing, they are not playing right now. Is that correct?
That is accurate.
They're finished. They're retired.
Yeah.
Okay, look at me. Focus on whether I'm not even sure. They're not even retired. Is this at a guess? You're not even sure, but is this person passed away? Do you think?
They have, yeah.
Yeah, they have. Okay, good. Now change your minds because you didn't think because you were thinking of other people. Okay, good. So now try and guess. Okay, focus on the team that they played for. Focus on whether the team is like we'll say in Europe or over towards Australia or over towards the States. Yeah, you reacted to that. Australia, so they're over towards Australia. Is that correct?
They are over towards Australia.
Yeah, towards Australia, but you didn't give me a definitive answer. They're New Zealand, is that correct?
That's accurate.
Okay, good. Okay, focus now on the name, but don't say it out loud, just focus on it. Oh, I think I heard that. I'm going to come over here. And you can follow me with the camera, come over here.
This is
Okay.
ridiculous. This is
Something
already
right on.
ridiculous.
Something right on. Now, he didn't tell you the name either, did he? No, good. Okay, we're going to do this. I don't want you to see what I'm going to write.
Yeah.
I got a name. I heard it from your mind. And again, I mean, be honest now, no messing around. You didn't tell me the name?
I did not.
Okay, focus now on the name. I'm going to
already
go for this.
ridiculous,
Don't
by
say
the way.
anything now. Okay, I'm going to go for this. Because I want them to see it. Over there are experts, because I want to see, do any of them, did any of them guess this name? Okay, did any of you get that name over there? Be honest. No. So if the experts can't guess it, there's only one other explanation. It's brain hacking. Okay, for the first time, name out loud. Who are you thinking of? Be honest.
Colin Meads.
Colin Meads? Have a look what I wrote down.
that
Colin
is
Meads!
ridiculous.
I won't tell everybody else the other stuff that's inside your brain. My advice
I'll give
is,
you that 50 quid.
my advice is change the cookies on your browser.
Keith Barry, everybody.
Well done.
Thanks a million, well done. That is... oof, Jesus, I'm not right after that. That is bizarre. Now, before we leave you, I'm properly shaken after that, Stephen. So I'm going to leave it over to you. Put up your, quickly if you would, Stephen, your score prediction for the game.
Okay, so Ireland 42, Fiji 21.
21, Fiona, in you go.
I had this now before he did that. I had that in my brain. Keith, can you confirm I had this in my brain before he...
21 is wrong.
No, that's not it.
38-20, Stuart.
It's closer.
32-15, right? They're all sort of in the same sort of area. That's a bit of a flavour of where the guys are thinking. We're going to be back to you again at half-time, so do join us. We're going to get some half-time analysis from the guys. And as you've seen from Keith Barry, who knows what else. It's live at the Aviva Fan Studio. Are we thinking Ireland? Yes! See you at half-time.